Whether we like it or not, as much as you might want to deny it, managing a relationship is like running a business. Why not stop denying it and start to actually incorporate the two and start living the best life?
We've had multiple challenges at one time.
It's through those times of trial where it does get challenging, where you're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. So it wasn't always like that for us, to be very open and honest. Our relationship has not always been at the level 10 that we have now.
It takes practice.
Yeah. So start incorporating structures and start with something simple like a weekly meeting pulse, because when you focus on building that love, nothing can go wrong in that instance. Strengthen the love, the legacy, and the lifestyle in your family business. This is Fearless Family Business. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fearless Family Business Show and the series that we are calling Startup Spouses. And I'm here. My name is Adam Hill with my lovely wife, Marie Hill. And we're here to talk a little bit about the idea of how to balance your relationship and your business. If you're running a business together with a spouse, well, you're running two different types of businesses, because whether we like it or not, whether you want to deny it or as much as you might want to deny it, running a relationship, managing a relationship is like running a business. And so why not stop denying it and start to actually incorporate the two and start living the best life? And over the course of the last few months or few years, really, Marie and I have brought our relationship up from maybe a level 5 to a level 10. And, it's our goal to really share some of our experience and tips and tools on how hopefully you can do the same if you're working together with a spouse. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So today we want to get into that balance. How are we balancing the relationship and the business aspect? So Marie and I are both really starting up our own businesses now. I've been operating in the business that I'm in for the last 20 years or so. But as I exit that one and I start to lean into this new business, it's an entrepreneurial journey, and it's an entrepreneurial journey for both of us. Marie, why don't you tell a little bit about the journey you're starting on your side with your business?
Well, I guess in November, I decided that I've been in real estate for probably on and off for over 10, 15 years. I don't know, raising kids in between that. But I decided that I wanted to own a business instead of just running real estate investment. So I've just been working to learn about how to acquire a business and all the nuances that come with owning a business. So that has been feeling like I've been going back to school, learning different things. It's kind of a humbling experience in a way, because not knowing what I'm doing, but learning
right
prior to purchasing a business.
Yeah. And it's a lot of, I know that we're kind of you're carrying a lot of the weight on that side of the entrepreneurial journey for that buying and acquiring of a business. And I know that we're kind of working together on that front too, a little bit, working to source that business and how to run it and how to manage it. And on the side, I'm also building a platform to help businesses, really to scale through EOS, build their legacy, and ultimately plan their exit. And so a lot of that building two businesses at once and also managing a relationship can certainly have its challenges, but it's not something we're not used to as a couple. We've gone through the last 20 years with our fair share of challenges and obstacles, and we've overcome them all, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think in the light of things, I wouldn't suggest other people do this much work, but considering we've had multiple challenges at one time, we're crazy enough to do Ironman triathlons too. So I think that would give us a little bit of an advantage, I would say, in our resiliency. So
yeah, resilience. I mean, a lot of times it's you can bring it upon yourself by training for an Ironman or building a business or something like that. But oftentimes it's also put on you through specific challenges. And I wonder, audience, if you might feel that way in terms of your relationship or your business or things like that. And hopefully what we can share today in terms of our experience can help you to maybe navigate that a little better, because it's through those times of trial where it does get challenging, where you're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. And that's really ultimately what's going to happen. And you got to decide, are you going to choose to grow together or are you going to choose to grow apart? And there's, just like anything, there's systems and processes or structures that you can put in place in your relationship and in your business and in your partnership that can help you to navigate in whatever direction. It's just up to you to choose. That's why we're welcoming you in this episode and going forward, to welcome the idea that you can run your relationship like a business successfully. And let me just say why those two things are, I think, really kind of correlated. Because we look at the divorce rate in the United States, and I'm not sure if this is across the world or just the United States, but if we're looking at the divorce rate, it's well over 50%. And you think about it beyond that, how many relationships maybe where they stay together, but they're just not happy together. I'm sure it's even higher than that. So we're looking at, like, the odds are against us, generally speaking, for those marriages to survive. The same is true for businesses. You look at the number of businesses that you see transferred to the next generation, which is, it's about 30%. I was talking to Renee Russo on a recent episode where she talked about the ability to transfer successfully. Under 30% of businesses actually do transfer successfully. So there's a correlation there. But if you can learn to put the systems and structure in place, you will have a better chance at success. It's just that straightforward. So, Marie, what are some of the ideas or what do you think the things are that, in terms of, as you're starting this entrepreneurial journey, as you've worked and we've collectively worked, we've shared the same household, that have really worked for us to work well together and to manage this relationship well together?
I think that since the beginning, we've been on and off working together. I think that is an advantage in itself. We have decided that that friendship is also important, and a portion of that is that I look up to you in some regards.
And you mean friendship between us, or friendship outside, like other friends?
Friendship between us as well too. So, I mean, we used to work at a restaurant together. That is very difficult in itself, in a very confined amount of space of bartending together, or I'm helping you out,
right,
doing that sort of stuff. So we also live together and work it together in the same space all the time. So I think there is constant communication. Yeah. And then we set up good boundaries between the two of us.
Yeah. Well, let's touch on the boundaries for a second, because I think that's important. We do say that, running a business is like running a relationship and vice versa, but those two things really should be separate, right? Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when we're running those two things separately, how do we keep the boundaries between when we're talking about, or when we're working in the business and talking about things in that nature, and we're talking about things relationship oriented? How do we keep that boundary? How is that successful for you?
I think we have since we do our meetings once a week, I think that I can shelve it for that amount of time on the weekend to separate both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. The meetings too, we talked about that in our last episode of Startup Spouses. We went through that that meeting structure, that meeting pulse that we go through. I think that's an important, really important element. If you are listening to this and you want to improve that communication and be able to set that, having that meeting is so powerful, to be able to openly communicate, what you want and where you want to go, to build that vision, to execute on that as a couple. It's so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with regard to boundaries, I think you're right. It is hard, because especially when you're working in the same house, we don't go separately to an office. But one of the things I feel that has, really kind of worked for me is to be able to compartmentalize those two things, to be able to say that we're we're operating in the business, from the hours of 8 to 5 p.m. or whatever it is, I'm in work mode. And, it's hard for me personally to switch over back and forth from work mode to relationship or play mode. Sometimes they overlap, right? But sometimes that's hard. And I know we've gotten into trouble a bit in the past too, where it's just like where we might go to each other when we're in work mode. And with me especially, it's like you might try to be playful and I might not be as receptive to that in that moment. Or I'm like, it just kind of jars me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all of that? That kind of just switch over from play to work.
I since we are kind of feeling kind of people and sensory kind of people, that I can easily go back and forth and kind of, if you're having such a stressful time, I kind of am more playful, and I know I'm not going to get in a reaction that maybe is as compatible with that, just because of the fact that playing with you kind of relieves the stress level too.
Sure.
That you're going through. So just being able to read each other, or even and communicate that if we don't feel that, hey, look, I have something to do right now. I need to get something done. Let's talk later. Let's make it a point to do that, but being honest with each other, not getting upset with each other's boundaries. So
yeah.
I think of respecting each other's boundaries. If you're saying a big no to me coming in and being like, hey, what are you doing? And trying to strike up a conversation, that should be celebrated for you saying a no, because I'm grateful that you are respecting yourself enough and taking care of yourself enough to show me that.
Sure. And how do you not take that personally though? Like I know, because no's are hard. We don't want to get rejected. We're getting rejected all day long, but it's not really a rejection. It's just a not now, because this is work mode. So how do we honor those boundaries without not taking them personally?
It takes practice.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's anything, that to just realize that no is not a rejection. It should be a celebration. I think it's like that mindset shift that we need to do, is have that thought about where you are holding a boundary. It's a good thing, not like, oh my gosh, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't like me. No, there's a time and place, and it should be respected.
Yeah. So. That's such a great point. I love the idea of turning that no into a celebration, because in business and in our relationship, even when we get to that so-called finish line of marriage where we've locked down our dream person, there's going to be times of rejection where we just don't necessarily get what we want in the moment. And I felt that way, I feel that way, especially when we're starting up a business. You're going to get rejected, and that's just part of it. And we're learning to celebrate those rejections as a learning opportunity or a chance to reset or move forward, or even, just get you closer to that next yes is, I think, really valuable. And I'll say from my perspective, it's, when it's work mode, or I'm having a hard time shifting into play mode because I have been in work mode, I've tried to be more intentional of understanding that, where I am not able to do that very quickly, and making sure that I'm more intentional about being playful when play is that necessary component, because play is important in our relationships. It's even important in work. I mean, we need to break away from the desk from time to time and set that opportunity to make sure that we're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Most
we're
definitely
in this for fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're building your own business, it's something that you want to do. This is your thing. This is your joy. Yes. So I think that incorporating play within business is super important. It's full of it makes everything full of abundance. It's that mindset of abundance and not scarcity.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to sound like a broken wheel here, because I am very systems oriented, EOS oriented. put those systems into practice. But I think this is where systems really work. I mean, even in a relationship, building a system and a structure around your relationship that works, because there's a saying that says that you should systemize the predictable so that you can humanize the exceptional. And if you can systemize all of those predictable things in your relationship, the things like the times of day when you're going to be working, or the personal me times, or the lunch prepping, or whatever that might be, you can humanize the exceptional side of the relationship, the areas where you're going to connect, the areas where you're communicating, the areas where you're playing, all of that stuff. And that I think in turn makes it more fun. So what I'm saying is systemize your relationship to make it more fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Systematize it.
Systematize. It's systemized.
Yeah.
I think you could say either.
Okay.
Let me put it on the issues list. I don't know. Systemize or systematize. What do y'all think, audience? Which one is it? So I think the boundaries argument is pretty important. But I think also too is because we're talking about the rejection side of it, that there's ups and downs in entrepreneurship or entrepreneurialship. Is that another question?
Right.
Entrepreneurship. Yeah.
You take that one.
I'll take that one. Entrepreneurship. If you're a family business owner or operator and you're looking to get more control over your business, I would love to talk with you. I want to give you a special invite to request a free 90-minute workshop with me to learn the powerful tools of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Just shoot me an email at adam.hill@eosworldwide.com. Again, that email is adam.hill@eosworldwide.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Okay, but there's ups and downs in entrepreneurship, right? Where I might be having the best day ever, talking to clients, locking down new business or what have you. And in the very next room, you might be struggling to find that business that you want, to really find it. And you might be struggling. So so there's a dynamic there where support of each other comes into play when one of us might be having a great time or feeling that high. We're at the top of the roller coaster. And then the other one might be just not having the best day. How do we balance that? And how can we support each other in those times? And conversely, how do we avoid getting ourselves drawn into that negativity if maybe the other person's not having a bad day?
I think, first of all, reminding yourself that you're human is a very important thing about supporting each other. If somebody is having a hard day, is being a good listener. And sometimes I know it's hard to believe, but there's also outside people that can support us as well too.
Okay, let's talk about that. Who are the outside people that can support us?
Friends. Yeah. Networking groups. You can have a therapist that you can support you, which I think is highly important for yourself and or your relationship.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's valuable. I mean, the idea of community was the one thing that lifted us up, and I would get into the next kind of question, with regard to that. I think for me, I think you're absolutely right. The connections we have outside of our relationship are so valuable. I mean, having a community, this is what I believe community means and why it's so important, is that community basically consists of is a group of people that have what you want. Like in that group, there's an emphasis on mentorship and an emphasis on cohort. So there's somebody that has what you want who you can follow. Maybe you're getting some coaching or mentorship from that. And then there's groups of people that are going through that with you. You have that in your relationship as well. You have somebody who's going through it with you, but sometimes you might be misaligned because you're struggling with different things that each person can't help with. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a good idea to have that outside source. And do you ever get do you ever feel resentful or anything like that when maybe I'm able to get help from people outside, or does that, because it doesn't really come up for me that I feel like if you have an outside source for something that you get support from. It feels like a supplement to me. It doesn't feel like I get really envious or resentful about that.
In the past, I would probably. Yeah. I was not a perfect person. Like, I don't think I can take criticism or I say criticism, but it was probably like just help of how I can do things a little bit easier. I took that very, very hard and very, very personal. I think working through that with therapy and community and finding extra support, I realized that even though you are a great portion of my life, you're not my everything. And I can't expect you to be everything in my life. So, I mean, you're going to have a bad day and I'm going to have a bad day, and recognizing that too. And sometimes that we need outside sources to help us through that. Yeah. So now I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm glad you're getting help outside of our, help. I don't need to be that person all the time.
Yeah.
To get support from. So it actually makes me a little bit less, having to be a perfect person. So I don't think that we put that pressure on each of us to be perfect. So.
Yeah. I think there's so much wisdom in what you were saying there about not having to be everything to a spouse. I know there's a level of romance that comes from the idea of believing that you're my everything, you satisfy all my needs, and this is everything for me. But in reality, that perfect person is going to come with, perfect flaws as well. And there's no way that we can be everything to everyone. And imagine the weight that must create on somebody who feels like they have to be everything to that person.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. But it kind of to have that pressure on another human being, you kind of in a way can try to control the other person. And so that gets into another danger zone. Not only you have to be this sort of person to this person, you have to be everything to this person, but in that factor, you want to control it to make sure that is a guarantee in a way that you want it to be. So in the past, it would be like, okay, are you sure you're going to wear that shirt today? And I would be like, okay, well, I should. My shirt? No, I love the shirt. I'm not picking. I know I'm not picking on the shirt. I'm just making it as an example.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So say like, if you need that person to be everything, and for that person, you kind of will want to be like, okay, well, this has got to be perfect because he's the only person who can do this. So this is the way I want it to be. So he needs to wear this shirt, this shirt, or he needs to work out so many hours, or he needs to respond in a certain way that I like to hear.
Yeah.
And that's total BS. So
right.
I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but
yeah,
it allowing yourself to not be everything allows yourself the freedom to let the person be the way that they want to be in this world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And individuality, the ability to experience that level of freedom to be yourself is super valuable, not just in the relationship, but in work and anywhere in your life. And to find that community outside that can help support you on that front, to help support you and your business or whatever you need. I mean, you may need to even just have that community to ask, how can I be a better husband or a better wife, and learn how to iron sharpen iron on that front. I've gotten that from GoBundance. I've gotten that from, local communities. There's all sorts of communities we can join. I've got it from AA, from Alcoholics Anonymous, which was the first, attempt we've changed things. I think if we can acknowledge that we're not perfect and that we have needs and we have a need to be who we are, within the context of our business and our relationships, that better fuels us to know and be self-aware of what we can be for our spouses or for our employees or our vendors, our customers. And there's a great tool in EOS called the Delegate and Elevate tool, where you can actually learn to what your sweet spot is, what you're great at, and what you love to do, and basically delegate out the rest, and delegate that out to other employees. So I think that's a valuable insight into boundaries. Is you can also learn to have those communities and accept that you don't have to be everything to your spouse when it comes to that. So that's a great insight. I love that. And I've also learned that I need to change my shirt because
No.
that's quite all right. I get it. I'm not the best fashion.
No,
not starting
stop.
a fashion business, but that's all right. You love what? No?
I love the shirt.
You love the shirt? Okay. She's just saying that. But that kind of does lead to the other thing is honesty and openness. I think we want to be, we need to be open and honest, just as we are in business. I have a theory that every issue that ever comes up is rooted in a lack of, or unclear, or the wrong kind of communication. So if things aren't communicated honestly and openly, then things fall apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important to be open and honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. It's like, if you are angry, do not have an open and honest conversation, because you will remember everything from the past. And when you're angry, it just brings up a lot of negative emotion to it. So anything that's negative in your life will get amplified in an argument or when you're angry.
Right.
So it's not a good time to spill out all your grievances about another human being, because that's not the place. You need to sit down and calm down before you have those open and honest conversations. It needs to be in a neutral territory when you have like neutral emotions for each other, and practicing it is so important.
Yeah.
Is having these open honest conversations and being on almost a daily basis. You have to do that.
Right.
In order to build up that
muscle.
Yeah.
So it wasn't always like that for us to be very open and honest with us. Like I said, our relationship has not always been at the level 10 that we have now. Right. And so what was it that, what did it used to be like in that, in terms of our communication when it wasn't working, and what changed?
I think that we wouldn't talk openly and honestly with each other until it became a huge deal. So it's like, oh, you left your dirty towels on the floor in the bathroom, and
next to my ugly shirts. Yeah.
Yes. No, yes. No. Yes. So say that he left his dirty towels on the floor, and I would pick them up and be, oh, I can't believe he just left these on the floor, and get all angry. And then by the 100th time, I'm just pissed off, and I've told myself over and over again how disrespectful that is, instead of having an open and honest conversation the first or second time.
Right.
And that, in a way, is what we were doing in the past. So I would leave that conversation when I was really angry, and now it's once a week that we're having these discussions about each other, to each other, right, about our issues.
Yeah. And that's in the level 10 meeting that we have every week. Yeah. And again, going back to that episode that we had last week, that's a hugely valuable container place every week that's sacred, that allows us to communicate those issues and bring them up in an environment that's positive, that is oriented towards growth, so that those conversations aren't happening around a pile of dirty towels that we're angry about, that bring up all of the other issues and everything else that is wrong, and all the reasons we're imperfect. I think that's really powerful, because throughout the week, what I've noticed, especially over time since we've started doing those meetings and being more connected on that level, and having those boundaries and being more open and honest, is that throughout the day, we have a lot more respect for just the space that we're both creating. In terms of the business, or where we know what we have going on. We know when there's high stakes conversations happening, so we can give each other the respect and the space. And then I've noticed too, and one thing that's been really important to me with regard to these boundaries in business or relationship, and making sure that we're keeping that balance, is our evenings together, when we are actually being more intentional about coming back together. This gets back to making sure that we understand, of course, that we're both building a business during the day, and we're both building a relationship together. And those things are happening at the same time, but they're also separate. So during the day, we can spend, be 90-40 or 90-10 in business and 10 in relationship. And then once we flip that flip, we then get into our relationship, and we start having those deep conversations. When we're keeping those separate, there's no muddy water there. It's not muddy anymore. And we can literally just, have dinner and be present with one another. We can, one of my favorite things that we do every single day is we go out for a walk around the neighborhood and we just connect. And that happens every single day. That's brought us closer together. What are your thoughts?
I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of our evening as well, too. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it kind of helped us. It was kind of also a transition period between the two of us. Sometimes if something was really bothering us during the day, that we would have that discussion on the walk. And then let's say you're upset about something about work, or I was upset about something the kids did, or we would have that conversation, but I would start to recognize that we needed to have a different conversation. So I gave him a grace of, hey, once we get to the end of this walk, mm-hmm. we need to flip that conversation. So you have up until then to have this discussion. So right. I'm kind of glad that I started implementing a time limit on our grievances about the day too, because sometimes you just need that extra time too.
Absolutely. Well, it's easy to, we have a negative bias where we always have a negative bias within our humanity. So it takes intentionality and attention to it to switch that into positive. So actively making sure that we are focused on positive elements instead of, oh my God, the kids did this and blah, blah, blah. And just kind of draining ourselves even more. I don't know why we get into this habit of basically digging ourselves into a pit all day long when it comes to work, of negativity, and then wanting to pile it on later on. We think we're venting, but we're just immersing ourselves in that negativity. Mm-hmm. But if we can just kind of let all of that go, let it go, and then go into the positivity, into what we love, and really connect with each other. That's what's been meaningful to me. And looking back on these last few years where we've grown together so well, that's been the greatest part of it. It hasn't been an earth-shattering one singular event that has made this. It's been just a consistent, consistently every day, just making those little micro connections, and that over time has built our relationship.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that our first conversations were as productive as they are now, or serving us in a way. I think it just takes practice, and that's what you do every day. It's kind of like when you exercise, you're practicing. So mm-hmm. that meaning doing these walks, it didn't start off like 100%. Let's talk about our relationship. It's right. Maybe it was not. It started off maybe 80% talking about the day, and then maybe 30% talking about our relationship.
Right.
So, or, hey, let's talk about what we want to do, or vacation, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just every day that you show up and decide, hey, I really want to work on this relationship is the most important thing for me. So,
yeah. And the truth is, both parties have to be completely engaged in this. We were very fortunate that both of us were willing to do that. And sometimes it's hard to get that second party involved in that. And when that, when that comes into play, you just do I think you just do your best. I don't know how how if there is if there is one person in the relationship that's just really struggling to connect, how do we break through that barrier? Maybe they're struggling with turning off the work mode and getting into relationship mode. Or
I think there's curiosity there.
Yeah.
I think asking questions.
Yeah.
Feeling. I think that there's a sense of the need for validation.
Yeah.
In their day, there might be something else going on under the surface. Again, that's why I think going to therapy, having really good friends is also an important supplement to a relationship, because, and also journaling.
Yeah.
That one of those things is, if you're struggling to find a therapist, or don't think you're quite there, I mean, just having a journal throughout the day. But if somebody is struggling to turn over that switch, it's just getting curious about how did that affect you, and maybe tapping into a sense of feeling. It's because when we're complaining our day, we're not really in our bodies.
Yeah.
And so tapping back in, being in love is kind of being in your body and having feelings towards another person, because when you're in a relationship, what are you going to do for a person? You would do anything for them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that person might be struggling. So that's another way of looking at it too.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great observation. Curiosity is always a superpower, and it's a superpower that we can all build into ourselves. It's not, imprinted. It's just a matter of getting curious. So I love what we've talked about today. I think there's some important points that can be actions for anybody to take away today that can benefit from, just building that right balance between the work, the building of the business, and the building of the relationship. One of those things is, make it fun. Make sure that you're recognizing that you're building this business that you're building either together or together separately as a passion project, as something that you're passionate about. So remember that, lean into that, even when times get hard. Make the challenges fun, and make sure you incorporate elements of play into that.
Yeah.
And then secondly, recognize that your partner cannot be everything. Cannot be the everything. You can find the support that you need outside of the relationship, and communities that can help you grow, both professionally and personally. And that's okay. That's part of the beautiful thing of relationships and in the work. And then create the systems and structure in the business. So start incorporating structures and start with something simple like a meeting structure, a weekly meeting pulse that can help you to deliver the right kinds of meetings. And that system and structure will help you to systemize or systematize the predictable, so that you can humanize you can humanize the exceptional. That's really the goal. Is you want to spend more time on the human aspects of that, and then be open and honest. Here's the rule for the happy life, that we talked about. I know we talked a little bit earlier about our propensity to maybe take things personally when we're standing over a pile of towels that are dirty, that need to go in the laundry, and getting angry, bringing everything up. But instead of that, maybe here's a rule for the happy life. Think about it this way. Don't offend and don't be offended. Try not to take things personally. There's a great book that you just finished reading that was called The 4 Agreements. And it talked about just 4 simple things that you can do to essentially create a happy life. They're not easy things, but they're simple things. And one of those things was, don't take things personally. And yes, it's easy for things to hit us. But when those things hit us, just like Marie said so wisely, I think that if we get curious about those things, we wonder why they hit us personally. Then we get maybe a little bit more into self, and we can resolve that issue. So those are some simple action items I think that you can take away. Marie, anything you think that people should take away and start doing?
I think it's like having grace with yourself and with your partners
Mm-hmm.
is quite important. And it's not something that tomorrow you should be able to do perfectly. So I think it's just, again, I'm going to say this again. It takes practice to do this over and over again, and carving out time, even if you take a walk once or twice a week. It's just getting into that gear of switching over and that transition of spending time together.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, well said. I think there's some pretty actionable steps you could take here. And remember, build that, strengthen that love. We talk about love, legacy, and lifestyle on this show. And this is all about strengthening that love. Lead your relationship with love, lead your business with love, and lead what you're building with love. Because when you focus on building that love, nothing can go wrong in that instance. And we'll all thrive together. So I appreciate you joining us today. We appreciate you, and thanks for joining us. If you like this episode, please rate it, please subscribe, and share it with a friend who might benefit from it. And we'll keep coming at you with some startup spouses in the future. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.